Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 818, featuring Four Fathers Genetics. How you doing, my friend?
Hello, I'm Eagle.
Wow, that was loud. You want to tell us how you're doing and where they can find you?
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on the show today. I really appreciate it. Representing out from Michigan. We can purchase from our store out on Shopify. You can also just look up Four Fathers Genetics or Four Fathers Glass with the number 4 and find us on Google.
Right on, right on. So, we usually smoke throughout this show. Did you bring anything to puff on tonight?
Absolutely, man. I was thinking about it. I had a couple joints rolled up, and then I was like, "What am I doing? I gotta break out my glass for this one."
Nice. That's a nice piece.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dew from New York made this nice reticello, filicello stack sections, honeycomb in the middle here going up.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Really nice. So what's in it?
I've got a little mix up here, man. So I excited to say that I actually had my first experience hands-on growing start to finish recently with a really good friend of mine who I've been doing kind of some apprenticeship work under, one of the geneticists I started my company around. Just a great dude, Grateful Grower on Instagram, if you've ever heard of him. And got some of the permanent marker packed up here from Seed Junkie.
Nice.
I've always had a lot of friends that have grown and been involved with cannabis since I was young, but I've never had hands in the dirt like this. And it's just been such a great experience, man. I can't even describe how awesome it's been watching like a kid grow up almost.
Okay. So that leads, I guess, right into the first question of the show is when did cannabis come into your life? When was the first time you either used or seen the plant?
So I think I was in 7th grade. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
And back then, it was an orchestration. You had to know somebody back then. You had to plan it out. We were super nervous about doing it for the first time. We had a change of clothes in our backpack. We had a pop can that my buddy had squeezed the sides down and poked holes in for us to smoke out of. It was so old school. I was probably in 7th or 8th grade, though, man. It's crazy.
So were you in the I got high the first time club?
I've heard mixed, experiences on this, but I definitely feel like I got stoned the first time. I remember just smashing some Lucky Charms and just having the munchies and everything, like textbook.
I guess what was the draw? What drew you in with old lady cannabis?
I had an older brother that was kind of into cannabis at the time. He kind of like, I had seen him kind of doing it a few times. I had seen Half Baked back in the day. And for some reason, like not even knowing what cannabis was at that point in my life, we just were in love with that movie. Loved Dave Chappelle. We were rolling up grass and smoking it in paper because we didn't even know what cannabis was. We just kind of wanted to be a part of that culture. And it was just so attractive to me. And the biggest part was it was an alternative to alcohol. To be honest, I had seen alcohol kind of ruin people's lives growing up and was even at that age was looking for some kind of alternative, kind of substance. And it just seemed very attractive.
So where did it go from there? Was it a casual use? Were you a weekend warrior? I mean, how did it progress from that first time?
Unfortunately, I had my first experience with getting caught with cannabis shortly after that, which was a habitual kind of thing throughout my life. So it's kind of funny nowadays looking back on it, how casually we can smoke and enjoy it, and going to these cannabis festivals and stuff. It's such a beautiful thing. It's something I, to be honest, never thought I would see in my lifetime. And at one point had completely given up on because of my experiences, with run-ins with the law over cannabis and just simple consumption stuff too. It's crazy.
Do you consider yourself a recreational or a medical user?
Both. I like to recreationally enjoy cannabis. Um, I like to also use it as medicine. This permanent marker specifically it's just great medicine, man. It gives me a nice pain relief. I had a really bad car accident about 6 years ago, and before that, I had hurt my back working in restaurants. So it's been something I've always kind of gone to. It's something natural. I've always been about natural. To always try to steer away from the pharmaceuticals and things like that, um, as much as possible over the years. After the accident, I didn't have much of a choice, but cannabis has really helped me kind of get away from all that stuff. So very grateful for it, man.
Is there any in particular cultivars that help you with your pain management?
You know, the Grateful Growers medicine is fantastic, man. But I've got a couple people in my life that have been kind of mentors of mine as far as the cannabis goes over the years. Some really close friends. Michael Fang, Gage Green Group, most recently, has been somebody I've been spending a lot of time with and shadowing, seeing his personal garden, the biodome, and how much love he puts into his cannabis, and learning more about organic cannabis has really been something that's changed my life very recently. Smoking organic cannabis and being introduced to the difference and kind of seeing that firsthand and how it really makes your body feel. It's been amazing.
Well, I can appreciate that answer 100%. 100%. So I guess when did cultivation come into the picture with, and I guess why?
Um, so I've been in the restaurant business for about 20 years, actually, since I was really young. Got it started off as a bus boy, kind of worked my way up, and that was always my kind of grind. Got out of sports and started working at 15, and just fell in love with the grind and the hustle. I always wanted to have my own place and do everything. So as time went on, I went on and opened up about 5 different places with a company called Rusty Bucket. And traveled around, went out to Indianapolis, was a chef for about 6 years, and always kind of still, pursued that kind of love of cannabis, and was always kind of that guy that knew the people and was connecting people in the industry. And at one point, I just saw a lot of my friends kind of getting into the actual industry as the legislation kind of changed. And where at one point I had kind of run from it when I moved out to Indiana, because I was afraid that if I stayed in the industry and progressed, that it was a one-way ticket to either jail or, something else bad happening. Because that was kind of the rep for cannabis at the time for me in my life. And after that kind of happened, when I moved out there, everything changed. Michigan, the legislation changed. People were able to start using it, getting medical cards, and it was like stuff I never thought I would see in my life was happening right in front of my eyes. So I felt like that was a call home. My mother also was diagnosed with cancer at the time, so that was the big reason that brought me back. But the company I worked for was awesome to me as I was to them, and they kind of made that happen for me. So they moved me home that next week, actually, after I asked. Good people.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
After that, it was kind of crazy watching my friends start cannabis companies that I used to, sell weed with back in high school and stuff. And just seeing the whole development of the culture take off, it made me really passionate about wanting to get more involved with it, more than just consuming and helping friends consume. And it kind of spun them this idea in my head. I had a really close friend that got badly injured over in Afghanistan, and I was like, he needs medicine. He had tried to grow some medicine at one point with the guy that was helping him. He's blind in one eye and completely lost his other eye after an IED accident over there. And crazy story, but this guy who he's growing with is taking advantage of him and stuff all of a sudden. So it kind of just sparked this idea in me to to create a company where we could help these guys grow cannabis. These guys, meaning veterans that are injured in some way that they actually need either physical help doing it, or maybe we could provide the genetics and the equipment and everything, the know-how. I knew everybody and, you know, their mother in the industry at this point to make this happen. And it felt just right. Like all the energies lined up. So I did it. I talked to a couple of good friends of mine, and we started 4Fathers. Unbeknownst to us that all the legislation was about to change right in front of our faces. You know, spent tens of thousands of dollars that I had saved up working in the restaurants over the years on equipment, and had this big plan, and started to meet these people including Mike from Gage Green Group, at the first Cannabis Cup in Detroit. And it seemed like everything was going great. And then all of a sudden legislation changed. Caregivers weren't allowed to put their flower into the dispensaries, which was going to be a big part of our business model. We were going to handle all of the distribution for the caregivers. And all of a sudden the dream kind of started to fall apart. Like none of the people we had set up to grow the cannabis and help with really wanted to do it anymore because it wasn't going to be 100% legal. So I was like, shit, I don't know. I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden I was deflated and sad. And I was like, man, this is terrible. And then, you know, I had met Mike recently. So I reached out to him, asked him for some like advice about like, you know, genetics and things like that. And he was like, if you want to be one of our, you know, authorized dealers for Gage Green Group, I'd be happy to get you involved with that. Start helping me distribute some of these packs of seeds. My other buddy, Grateful, was doing the same thing. He was kind of selling his genetics that he had been hunting out and needed some help with that because he was having a daughter at the time, or getting ready to. So I was like, you know what, let's just see if that works. And let's start getting into the glass. Glass has always been something that I've been super passionate about since I was young, a young smoker, and I've always appreciated the art. So I figured that could be like a long-term thing that we could kind of build out slowly, as funds were pretty much depleted at that point. I found one artist that was willing to work with me, got my first wholesale order in with him. It was like $1,100 that I scraped together. After, you know, getting married and getting wiped out with our first, you know, attempt at the industry, it was tough. But this one guy in New York, the guy who created this piece, helped us out and got us in the game. After that, we, you know, made a few sales to friends and family, and every time we made a sale, we took all the profits and we put it right back in, and then the collection just started growing. And I developed a short list of artists that I felt like were really good in individual fields, you know, whether it be reticello or filicello work, or all these different kinds of subjects in the art form, and that they were excelling, but they weren't so well known that they were outside of a price range where we could actually afford to work with them and kind of build out our boutique shop. And then kind of COVID happened, and everyone was doing at-home shopping all of a sudden, and the sales just started going crazy for both seeds and glass. So the collection just got huge all of a sudden. It was beautiful. Recently, things have come to kind of a screeching halt. And I had a really bad experience after being with my restaurant company for 15 years. I pursued a new opportunity with this guy who promised me the world. And then once I got in the door, it turned out he was not treating people well. And I kind of did everything I could to try to stop it, try to change things. We turned the entire restaurant around from a, you know, dumpster fire into a well-operating, you know, restaurant. And all of a sudden, he kind of was done with me kind of challenging his ways of mistreating people. So he let me go, and it allowed me to kind of actually, for the first time in my life, put all the effort into something that I really wanted to do, with like all my heart and soul, which was, you know, those 4Fathers and the cannabis, and just helping people that I care about, you know, going and just meeting people in this industry. I started with Mike, just kind of going out to Virginia. We went out to do a cannabis event out there, excuse me, not Virginia, Pennsylvania. And then we went out to the West Coast, toured some facilities, met some amazing people in the industry. And then since then, I've been working with him really closely to help develop Gage Green Group and kind of get some flower and stuff out there. Some other really exciting things that are to come. I don't want to mention too much, but hopefully huge things are coming our way, and can continue developing forefathers along the way as well. It's a really important thing to me that one day have a nice glass shop and can kind of kick back and smoke with some people in the game and just teach people about the art form.
Right on. That's pretty awesome, man. Everybody should have a dream. Everybody should have a dream they're fucking chasing. That's for sure.
Sometimes you can't be afraid when that dream changes either, you know. It seemed like every time one of these doors we'd run into a closed door, five more would open up as soon as I got back up off my feet. You know, it's like, and the cannabis industry, I'll say, man, it's such a unbelievable industry. You know, the restaurant business is thankless, man. It's tough. That stuff will carve people out of stone or make people quit after a couple of years. Not too many people can go through everything that I did in such a short period of time. And I say that humbly, you know, I really pushed myself. I put myself in the hospital a couple different times, but, you know, going from that and just being so passionate about being a leader and leadership and, you know, teaching young people and developing young people to come into the cannabis industry. And it's like, man, it's not one for, you know, 100 people that really tell you how much they appreciate your efforts. It's one for one. It's pretty wild, man. I've loved the energy in this. I love the events that I've been attending lately. It seems like the whole community is destined for people that are passionate about the flower and the plant. And I hope that's the future of the whole industry.
Me too. Me too. Cannabis community is pretty awesome, 100%. And as much as every time I think I've got the level of love and giving in the community, it always seems to exceed my expectations. In a lot of ways, to be honest with you, people helping people out, it's pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, man. At Gems and Genetics, you know, just T-Dog hurting his back, and all of a sudden it's like 10 people came out of nowhere, man, and were offering assistance. And some people were just coming up and donating medicine. People, just random people that walked by and he was talking to, went and got some RSO for him and came back and gave it to him. It's just, that stuff. I'm not used to seeing stuff like that happen, you know. It's crazy. It can be a cutthroat world out there. But, you know, it's not all doom and gloom in the restaurant business. I don't mean to paint a negative picture like that. I had some unbelievable teams and some amazing people that I had the opportunity to lead and work with. And that company was great. The Rusty Bucket was an amazing company to work for. They really know how to treat people great, which I think is important when you're getting your ass kicked every day. Cannabis industry is tough too, though, man. Getting hands in the soil made me appreciate smoking a lot more.
Yeah, that's to me, and that's one of the things of like I was getting ready to kind of talk with you about is the idea, the concept of the forefathers there, you know, because I'm a firm believer that cannabis is, you know, it is recreational, but to me, it is a very powerful medicine and it's a very therapeutical medicine in many ways. And I believe that the cultivation side of things is every bit of healing as the use of the cannabis itself. That time you spend in the garden is very spiritual. As you learn the plant and learn your relationships with the plant, it's very spiritual. And then when you take it to the level that you've taken it now, where you're getting into the organics and you want to understand the soil and how it works, it reaches a whole nother level. Now you reach in and kind of understand, you know, how the plant and you do relate now with the microbes and the shit that's going on in the soil. And it hits a whole nother deeper level there. And it becomes super spiritual. Not only that, when as you're working through that process, it is your medicine. You know, one of the things that hold people back and cripple people the most when they're sick is saying I can't, or not having not being able to do the things they normally do. The word I can is very crippled. When you're using cannabis for your medicine and you're producing your own medicine, now you've got that I can back. And just saying I can send goodness up your spine. So it's a, it just keeps going to giving as a medicine. So I really appreciate the fact that, you wanted the idea of the forefathers is to help people grow, and even if they can't, help them, do their thing, because that's a very powerful feeling. Providing for yourself is a very powerful thing. So it's pretty awesome. It's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
And it's my experiences in the restaurant business, I feel like it prepared me for this next step and this next journey in my life so much. I'm so grateful for all the trials and tribulations, tough times and stuff that I've had to go through, especially with cannabis. You know, and continue to. It continues to be a negative stigma around my family to this day. Um, and so it's something I'll continue to be grateful for those experiences, though, because I learned to fall in love with them over the years, because that means you're growing. That means other people are growing. It means that the whole situation is becoming more aware and evolving. So it's like sometimes you can't have growth without those conflicts and those tough talks and uncomfortable situations. It's just part of it. So I get excited when that stuff happens sometimes nowadays. I still have the human emotions of being sad and going through that. I love that you said the spiritual aspect about the plant, and this my recent experience, because especially with Michael, he has really expanded my mind with that. But that time that I spent doing my apprenticeship with Grateful Grower recently was so amazing. I was in a dark place. I was depressed. I felt like I needed a change in my life, but I wasn't sure if this was the right thing and if I was spending enough time, doing this, or whether or not I should just go back into doing what I've always been doing, which is kind of treating this as a side project and, go back to doing the restaurant full time, which made sense. And everyone in my family and stuff are telling me to do, but something in my heart and my soul was just telling me that wasn't it. So I just spent every day, and I'm like, I need to see this through. I need to grow everything, every day. I need to be there. And I did it. And this experience was so spiritual, man. It was, you could feel that transference of energy between you and the plants, and the plants and you. And then as you're watching them grow, you're watching them go through, issues. This was his first and second cultivation at his new home. And so he's learning how to adjust to that environment, and I'm doing it with him. So going through that was awesome, because you learn more in those situations when things go wrong than you do when everything's going perfect. And I feel like the hidden secret of cannabis is that nothing's ever going right. You think, everyone at the top has got everything just perfect 100% of the time, and their plants are going perfect 100% of the time, but that's never the case. You always have some type of issue or something, especially when you're growing in Michigan. Mike said that is the transference of having 4 seasons versus the California climate is one of the toughest parts about it. And I believe it, because it's cold in the winter, it's hot in the summer, and it's different. It is definitely different.
Helps us grow some fireweed here in Michigan for sure.
Yes, sir.
And another thing I think that's awesome as part of the forefathers go is the genetics side of things. I spent a lot of time selling some seeds for Subcool, and the ability to deal with people one-on-one and help them get the proper medicine that they need to be, so they could help them in through them stages that I was talking about, was some of the best experience I had in life right there. And some of the most meaningful, to be honest with you. So getting, making sure that they're not only growing, but growing with quality genetics is pretty awesome too. So, what is under the umbrella of Forefathers as far as genetics go?
Yeah, that was originally the idea was for a seed bank to start everything, and then for us to kind of build to have those genetics in place so that we could provide the veterans and everyone in the community, hopefully, that we were dealing with that the best medicine, and to be the kind of small batch bourbon of cannabis. We were talking about delivery. Our original homepage had delivery by 2022 on it, and after COVID started, we were reviewing everything, and I was like, went back and saw that was still the thing, and I was like, oh my god, I haven't even gone to our homepage in 2 years. It's been so crazy, but that's how success stories start. Not everyone starts off with $1 million in seed money. I feel like the best stories are the ones like mine, where you operate your business out of your home and you do everything yourself pretty much, and you lean on friends and family, and you catch some luck along the way and come along with the right people, and eventually things, hopefully for me, not a success story yet, but hopefully things take off, man. We've had some small successes along the way though, for sure. And we just keep investing it back in, and hopefully can get to a point where we can reach out to a proper amount of people with those genetics, and the glass art as well, man. But the genetics portion of it was really important to me, because I saw the evolution of cannabis go from the brick weed back in the day that you had to peel apart to smoke, to what we're smoking now, what we're truly blessed to be enjoying now, I should say, um, and everything in between. But a lot of the stuff that I've experienced along the way, especially in the last 5 years, I didn't feel like was making me feel like cannabis used to. Some of it was giving me a bad negative feeling. And you could tell almost, especially after dialing it in and thinking about it, what kind of stuff was making me feel better. And I started to figure out that there was actually a connection between how it was being cultivated and how it was making me feel. But also, I think it was more so the watered down kind of genetics, Um, and I thought it was important to make sure that we could hold on to some of the stuff from the beginning for the future. So I started buying packs and packs and packs and packs and packs, as many as I could get my hands on, so we could hold that, for later, and for, immediate breeding as well, to make sure that people were getting the proper medicines, from the proper people. Did a lot of research, man, just endless amounts of research. And one of the biggest reasons that I only have two people on my list right now, and it's, genetic designer and Gage Green Group and Grateful Grower, is because we had put a lot of effort into the glass at one point, because that was moving more. And then those were two of the people that I just really felt the best energy from when I walked around, initially, and met with tons of different people at that cannabis cup. It was like Mike just radiated some kind of special energy, and the connection we had and the conversation we shared was different than I did with anybody else. When I told him what I was trying to do with my project, it was different, and that matters to me more than money, or more than anything, man. To me, it's like that feeling you get when you're in a room with the right person and you can feel like your energy line up. That means more than anything should. And especially after, trying to go out with the wrong people and making more money than I ever was in my life, and seeing them mistreat people, it made it, that affirmation in my heart, that voice in my head, just so much stronger and so much louder, because I knew in my heart that I was like, all along. You can make as much money as you want. If you're not around the right people and you don't feel good at night, that doesn't matter. It's a lonely world.
Very true statement. That's one of the things I love about cannabis is, in many stages of life and then for many reasons, cannabis seems to offer a better quality of life. It pulling, even if it's being from pulling you from the stress of your 9 to 5 job every day, whatever it is, or it's the cultivation side of things, or if it's your medicine, you know, even if it's your last resort, you know what I mean? If it can if it may not save your life in the whatever ails you or whatever stage you're at, but I can tell you this much again, back to it, it will offer you a better quality of life on your way out to enjoy the rest of it. And even as I think a lot of us, when we turn to cultivation uh, of cannabis, is just that's all we've ever wanted. You know what I mean? To step away from the 9 to 5 bullshit and just offer, to live life on our terms and have a better quality of life on our terms.
Yeah.
And, so, yeah.
100%, man. I feel that, man. I really do. And I think, the argument about whether or not alcohol is better for you or cannabis is better for you, it's like, it's crazy to me. I'm so tired of that argument that I just have to kind of walk away and just smile and nod. And I'm just like, okay, thank you. And I walk away because to me, it's like cannabis, the benefits that we've already seen with cannabis, that's just the tip of the iceberg, man. The research that's going on right now with isolation of cannabinoids and different things like that is going to change the future of medicine, in my opinion, if it's allowed to. And I pray that it is. But to me, just the using it the way we do now is amazing, man. Like, and I hate when I hear somebody say like, I used to use cannabis, but I don't do it anymore because it started to make me feel bad or they feel different. And I'll just say, well, what were you smoking? You know, because that might be what made you feel bad, not cannabis. There's all different kinds of cannabis. It's like you can, maybe you just were hitting the wrong one. You shouldn't give up on it off one bad experience. I hate that part of like the stigma around the evolution of cannabis is that it's too strong now, or I had this experience once, or it changed for me. It's like I wish I could just get those people to try a smaller amount or try an edible or an isolated cannabinoid strain, that's higher in CBD or something that would get them out of that stigma that one experience or that it just doesn't work for them. Because I truly believe that cannabis can work for everybody. I lost my dad a couple of years ago to cannabis, or excuse me, to cancer. And I watched him use cannabis towards the end when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He used, Simpson oil, and it made him feel better, in my opinion. I saw like him go through that whole experience and very rarely kind of experience what a lot of people I think would have in that situation. Unfortunately, due to his relationship with cannabis, he wasn't willing to, do it to the extent that I feel like would have been more medicinally beneficial. But we got a lot of extra time with him, and I contribute some of that to that experience for sure. He was able to get a Whipple surgery done, and we ended up getting 2 years, which I don't know if you know anything about pancreatic cancer, but usually it's a 3 to 6 months kind of thing.
That sucks. I'd suck to get that kind of sentence. Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry, I was checking my battery. It was tough, man, but it reminded me that I have to live life and I have to be passionate. And it was like one of the last things, we talked about. It was forefathers, and him and I bumped heads quite a bit over cannabis growing up. Um, it caused a lot of issues between us. At one point, he even like kicked me out of the house over it, and we were screaming at each other. And it's like looking back on it now, it's like, man, I wish we could have just smoked a joint and it was legal, because that was the whole issue. It wasn't that he didn't want to enjoy the cannabis. He had enjoyed it when he was younger, but the fact that it was illegal and that it had caused an issue with me and getting in trouble, that was the big thing. So it sucks, that had to be like that, but I'm happy that everything kind of happened the way it did because it kind of got me to where I am now. And it kind of changed me for the better, and it made me kind of smarter, I think, along the way for sure.
So, what kind of food? What did you deal with in the food industry there? What kind of restaurants? Would you ever combine the two? If you ever kicked everything good off the restaurants, would you bring the cannabis? Would you bring the restaurant thing back?
I think that's part of the future. It's something Mike and I have had a lot of conversations about, is kind of combining the experiences. You think about Europe and stuff and the cafes and stuff, and now seeing in Michigan some social clubs starting to pop up. I actually popped into my first social club the other night uh, with a friend, and was taken aback. I thought that was amazing. I mean, there were tables, there's waitresses and waiters and a little bud bar and everything. It was awesome. But I've I want to create that kind of hospitable experience, definitely in cannabis. I haven't really thought too much about as far as combining cannabis with the food. Um, as far as like putting it literally in the food. I think some people that kind of scares some people, but I would much rather have a place where you could consume the cannabis and then also eat food. I think that would be cool, and I think it's come.
Nice.
But all of my expertise that I've kind of gained from dealing with these high stress situations, developing concepts, opening restaurants in different markets, I feel like it's just all part of what I've needed to do to get to the point where I can kind of help this industry kind of go to a better place and develop a good culture. Um, I want we want to continue to help people in this industry with their individual companies if I can. If not, just with Mike, man, develop a company where we can have a nice culture where people are treated properly and people want to be involved in this culture. And I've always felt like the more the culture grows, the more people get involved with the glass and growing the proper genetics and doing their own growing at home, the better that everything will get as far as the whole perception around the flower.
Yeah, well, if in fact, I think the restaurant thing would be in fact building on the community, and you know what I mean. That's the place to gather, and it consumes huge. I think that is the community. You know what I mean? What have you done throughout your whole life when you got that bag? Hit up a friend. Let's smoke. Let's listen to music. Let's play a game or something. That's it. So gathering and good times is part of cannabis, and through through food or whatever, as long as you can gather and consume, it's a part of the cog, man. You know what I mean? It's a little piece there somewhere. So yeah, either way, I think you're pushing towards the same dream. So do you have an interest in music that your pendant there reminds me of, like the old 45, like uh
It is.
pretty
That's exactly what it is. I definitely have an interest in music. This is Eric Anders. He's one of the artists that I work with in my stories. One of my favorite artists in general. Like personally, I just love his work. I love his dedication to the art. This pendant is a reminder of, you know, to work hard and keep going. That's why I love to personally rep it, because this is 2 out of 14 that came out of the kiln, I think, in just about a year, and it's hand carved. It's people are just crazy blown away by it that actually work with glass, because it's such a hard thing to actually achieve, and for most people it wouldn't be worth the time, but he is one of those people that is just a perfectionist and just a true motivation, man. I love seeing the artist put so much into stuff, and just to watch it fall apart sometimes. I feel like if I was one of those glass artists and I was doing that, and I watched that piece go from nothing hours later into something, and then it just fractured in the kiln at the last second, I would just be so hard to come back from. But they are just nonstop, man. I mean, especially being at some of the events recently, like Michigan Glass Project and Hetty in the Clouds, man, watching those artists at Hetty in the Clouds go till, 5, 6 in the morning. Michigan Glass Project, that last day, I think they were still going from the night before until like 2, 3 p.m. the next day, finishing up those pieces and doing it all for charity at MGP was just crazy awesome, man. That shared energy is such a surreal experience for me. And that's why I love these cannabis events. I remember T-Dog and I were walking around at our Spark in the Park recently, and somebody came up and they were like, "Hey, do you know where I can get alcohol?" And we were like, "There's no alcohol at this event." And T-Dog was like, "Excuse me, but have you ever been to a cannabis event before?" And he goes, "No." And he goes, "So just so you know, there's not alcohol usually at any of the cannabis events. It's going to take a special license to get those two things under the same roof. And even if you could, would you really want those two things together? Cannabis is all about the good vibes, and trying to keep those things kind of separate is kind of part of it. And you wouldn't really want somebody behind the wheel of the car on both either." And he was like, "I guess that makes sense. Thanks, guys." It's kind of a cool experience. And I love seeing people like T-Dog, who have been in the game even longer than I have, still kind of paying it forward and dropping that knowledge and giving out that good vibe and that good perspective about the flower. And I was talking to somebody else later that day about it. They're like, "Yeah, it's kind of weird to not ever see the alcohol at the events like that." And I'm like, some people still have some alcohol, but it's not like anyone's drinking like that. And I think it's kind of cool, because every time I see people overindulge with alcohol, and I've seen it a ton throughout my life, there's usually some kind of drama involved, and somebody's fighting somebody, not if not physically, verbally, and it's always something. But I've never seen anything like that happen, knock on wood, at a cannabis event yet. I feel like the vibes are different. Yo, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Oh, I'm muted. It's my
Oh,
bad. I'm quick with my mute button over here, but I'm very slow on unmuting it sometimes. Fucking, I seen it one time. I think somebody hit some salvia or some shit. Got fucking all weird, and it was a very brief, but it did make a scene. And I thought it was like 15, 2015 or some shit like that. And I thought that's the clip. That's the clip right there that the fucking news is gonna get, and this is all gonna get a fucking bad rap. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
thankfully, it didn't go down like that. But that was as close to as a bad vibe or anything like that I've ever seen at a cannabis event right there.
Bad things happen everywhere, and I think most of the time alcohol is a kind of a plus sign when it comes to stuff like fighting and drama and stuff. Just it being a depressant is going to kind of bring out some of those negative behaviors. That's why I enjoy just being around the cannabis community so much. It's because for the most part, it's all just good vibes and, chill people, man, that want to share those good experiences with each other. It's like, I remember smoking cigarettes and then kind of watching cigarettes kind of phase out of, everything. And then just this past year, hearing that there's more people that smoke cannabis than there is cigarettes in the United States, and just being like, yes. But I remember, back in the day, being a part of the smoking circle, of the cigarette smoking circle, was just different. Like, and then once I quit smoking, I wasn't in like the cigarette smoking circle anymore. In a restaurant setting, it was like hard to get a break without smoking a cigarette. I used to go out and say I'm taking a fresh air break, and people would be like, you can't do that. And I'm like, you can't take a smoke break and tell me I can't take a fresh air break, But seeing that kind of evolution is similar to kind of what we're seeing now. I think it's very cool to be a part of it.
Did you ever would you ever consider adding like a music to the restaurant / cannabis?
100%, man. I think it's an art form in itself, and I've always been kind of tied in with music, like I have glass and cannabis and all of that.
You add all the above together, and I actually kind of say and see, and excuse me for the term, but like a swanky, almost like, you remember like back in the day they had like the jazz clubs like Cab Calloway, and like the band would come up, or they'd have the diva singer, and they had the small tables where they'd be like couples chilling, eating and whatever. But that type of atmosphere, it'd be cool to have an upscale cannabis restaurant like that with a dessert cannabis menu.
You're blowing my mind right now.
You know what I mean? Like a flower type dessert menu, or you could have edible. But if you were talking about keeping the two separate, you could just do, a swanky dessert cannabis. Here you go, my 5-star menu of flower there for dessert.
Hell yeah. Dude, you're blowing my mind right now. This is crazy, because me and my best friend have theorized and talked about this. Mike and I have talked about this, like, what is like the ultimate cannabis consumption lounge kind of look like. And me and my best friend are big Peaky Blinders fans. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a show on Netflix all about the kind of prohibition era where, everyone's rolling around with Tommy guns and bootlegging, and it's kind of cool. But to see everybody, dressed up like you're talking about, that kind of era where everyone got put in their finest clothes and went out, and everyone was dancing. There's live music. You had the tiny cocktail tables. It was all about that experience of being in that environment and experiencing that premium everything. The best of the best. And that's definitely one of the things that we want to bring to cannabis for sure in the future. You're muted, brother.
And that time I don't even know. I don't even use the Zoom move. I don't even know how that one even happened. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool to see someday, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy that you said that, because that's literally like exactly what we've kind of theorized about.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. So how do you find how would you incorporate the glass in it? You could just say, same thing. I don't know. You could have, yeah. It'd be cool. How do you find your artist? I guess let's start there. How do you find your artist?
I handpicked every artist personally after searching. I found, every big glass show in the country basically, and I followed all of them on Instagram and searched through and looked at all the different submissions for all these different contests and looked at all these different people's work. I mean, that's how I originally made a list of all the artists I've found, like literally all of them. And then I went and checked out all their pages individually, started following all of them individually. And I did that for almost a year, man. I'm not even kidding. Like all day, every day, I was doing it. Just whenever I could get a free minute at the restaurant, whenever I would get home at night, no matter how long the day was, 12, 13 hours, whatever, man, I would come home and till 2 in the morning if I had to. I was just scrolling, searching, sifting through, trying to start conversations with people. You know, caught some scars on the profile along the way for sure, especially once things changed with IG. It got even tougher. And then at one point we were at risk of losing our followers and getting our page shut down. So we haven't been posting as much recently, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, man.
I guess what are you growing currently, if you don't mind me asking? What do you have anything special in the garden now?
So he's my buddy is a pretty aggressive hunter, um, which is awesome to see. I've seen a lot of different gardens, a lot of different people's grows and stuff. But he does things just a little bit differently, and I appreciate his attention to like detail and stuff. But we just hunted through 119 different phenos and probably about 20 strains, I would say. And we only got 4 keepers out of the first run, and out of this run we got 3, I think, that we held back. But right now what's getting ready to come down is blueberry pie, something we call Sherbanger, some garlic butter, which is one of my new favorites personally, and then the permanent marker, which is my favorite. But I tell people when I smoke that or consume it with them that it's my after dark weed. I'd like to wait till after the sun sets to consume the permanent marker. Kind of shuts you down. But it's great for when you're tired at the end of the day, your body's kind of aching, it kind of takes all that away. It's nice.
It's a different name, permanent marker. It sounds like you're blacking out some shit.
I was like, do they call it that because you fall asleep so hard somebody could draw on your face and you wouldn't wake up?
That's awesome. So
They
what is your favorite profile? What flavor profile do you like? What's your chase?
So I chase what a lot of true kind of people from my era of smoking chase, which is that old school perp, man. I love the Z terp and all of that, but it's not the same. My palate really likes those old school kind of funks. I love the Chem Dog. I love the blueberry, the DJ Short blueberry. All those old school strains. I like to see things that are coming out nowadays that have incorporated those flavors over time. But to me, nothing hits like something that I've smoked 15 years ago. Recently, when we were in California, Mike and I, NorCal, we were at NorCal Genetics house, and he pulled out some super silver haze that his buddy had grown, and man, I closed my eyes and I felt like I was hitting heady weed for the first time when I was 17 years old back in the day. Like it brought me back to the real super silver from all the way back, and I was like, man. We came back to Michigan, and I was like, man, I seriously feel like I would just throw somebody down a flight of stairs to get some of that super silver haze. I was like, it hit so different, you know. It didn't get me like super high. It had the same high that it did back in the day. It was a nice day smoke, nothing too crazy. The hazes were always nothing to super impressive to me, but they were like, you always knew what you were getting, you know. It was a nice day smoke that you could still function on and get shit done with. And that taste, man, that was a good one.
I kind of see or predict, I guess a better way to put it, a resurgent of strains like that. You know, I talk about all the time that I see more and more caregivers, growers, whatever, kind of hanging up the dream, which is super sad. You know what I mean? Super sad. I get it. I get it. I get it. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, if I believe that there's still good things out there, if we could just fare through a little bit longer, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with picking up the tools later on. I'm not hating. I'm not hating, you know, but I do believe there will be a resurgence in the market at some point. But nevertheless, there's a lot of great growers out there that's decided to put up, you know, the bigger garden and just kind of take care of some shit for themselves. So I think that at that point, when it's not necessarily a dollar thing, we're not necessarily trying to make money off it. We'll stop trying to flower out just shorter term flowering plants, you know, 8, 9 weekers and shit like that. Quick flips for that dollar, basically. And I think we'll see more people going more connoisseur and letting, you know, having one or two hazes or fucking nice 100% sativa, long flower, super heady fucking psychedelic shit float in the back. You know what I mean? And I think at that point, we'll see some more of those types of flowers come back around. And then when people get a hold of it, just like anything else, they'll invest the time in it after they go, wow, that shit really kicked my ass. I've been smoking this shit from everything I get my hands on lately, but that shit just like floored me. And I'll be like, yeah, I know, but it takes a lot longer to flower. And they'll be like, I don't fucking care. I don't care. I want that. So, and at that point, the market will be stuck in a few different strains, and they'll be begging for that fucking farmers market, the craft market at that point, market of flavors to come back, and it'll be full of fucking sativas and all kinds of fire fucking weed. That's my prediction, anyway.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer that same thing will be happening. You know, it's funny. I've been saying the same thing about the restaurant industry. You know, I feel like you don't get the same kind of quality meals you used to when you just go out to eat nowadays. That you use the experience overall just isn't quite the same. People don't care quite as much. The hospitality's not there, and it's literally being kind of taken out of everything, you know, down to McDonald's having a menu that you just press instead of talking to a person. Um, you know, no human interaction whatsoever in that experience. And I've always said that I feel like we're long overdue for kind of resurgence of all of that. And I said it's going to be a revolution of customer service when it happens. And I think once people have had enough of this lack of customer service and lack of an experience, especially those of us that remember a day where you had a server and it was a nice experience and people used to know who each other were and things were just different, you know, I think that revolution will happen. And just like you're talking about with cannabis, for sure, man. I think that's already kind of starting to happen from what I've seen and my travels recently. Some of the sour diesels are starting to kind of come back. I mean, just seeing super silver haze, like it smelled like super silver haze, looked like super silver haze, smoked like it. That made me really think that what we're talking about is going to happen with cannabis. I think we're really going to start to see those strains come back. The true people will pay for it.
It'll be worth
Do in the beginning, but eventually, I hope enough people will grow it that we can all kind of get that price back down.
So what is your favorite way to I guess you use the plant? You straight flower guy, like dab for your edibles?
You know, I do topical, I can do edible, I can do dabs, I can do flower, but I would say predominantly flower for sure. Dabs recently I've had a little bit more of a kind of approach with, but because of my accident that I was in, it's hard for me to hit a dab because it causes me to cough so hard, and then I'm all of a sudden, you know, I'm not really enjoying my high at all at that point. I'm just causing myself extra pain when I'm trying to take my pain away. It's not really conducive to that.
Right.
But recently I've had a couple of experiences like at Heady in the Clouds. Third Eye Gathering, Gage Green Groups, or Mike's company, event company that does a dab bar, really kind of changed my perspective on that. Like having somebody kind of coach me through doing a dab. We had Marco from, I think, Maximum Melts it was, there, who really kind of helped show me like how to dab a little bit better for kind of what I'm trying to do. He showed me that you can actually dab at a much lower temperature if you want to, and really kind of had my first dab that I felt was perfect. And it kind of changed my perspective on it. Then like getting into the glass, you know, I want to dab so much more. I wish I could do it like that, and then I wasn't in the situation I was with my back, because it's so appealing. Just, you know, ripping the bong back in the day, that was just the thing to do. You know, we used to have 6-foot bongs back in the day. We had the zong bongs that were bent back and forth, that if you stretch them out, they were 6 feet. We were trying to always create the next big thing. You know, we were making steamrollers and stuff out of whatever we could get our hands on. It's kind of part of the culture, part of the fun.
I've definitely made quite a few bongs myself, that's for sure. No, I still don't think anything hits as well as the old fashioned steamroller, by the way. That fuckers, them things kicked your ass.
For sure.
Yeah. Do they make like say a glass version of the steamroller?
Dude, I saw one just the other day, and I
Mhm.
really had a straight up out loud belly laugh at the smoke shop. I could not believe they had a glass steamroller in there.
That's awesome.
I was like, that is amazing. I didn't think people nowadays would know what a steamroller was.
There's a lot of cool devices that we used to way back. And then I can remember further back of say my parents using and shit. Frisbee pipes, the little football jobbers that you could throw back and forth. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of cool shit back in the day that, yeah, I, if seen, I don't think a lot of people would know what the fuck are.
Some of it's making a comeback too. You know, it's kind of cool to see some of the trends like that have come and gone. It's like not a lot of people even knew about them back in the day because you couldn't even advertise them like that. Um, you know, the association of glass and cannabis like had to kind of be separate. And I didn't really like put all that together in my mind when I went to Champs in Chicago. Um, and got there, and I expected to see a ton of cannabis, but I guess historically because of that, I'm assuming haven't had that kind of association. So they don't even have cannabis products there. It's all, you know, for the states that haven't gone recreational or medical yet. The Delta 8, all fully federally legal kind of products. And that kind of shocked me. I was like, wow, it's crazy. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense from a business perspective. Those companies are kind of establishing themselves in those states and providing whatever medicine they can. So it kind of, on the other side, it was cool to kind of see stuff like that, because maybe that's a good bridge for some people that are afraid to use cannabis. Maybe they'll start with like a hemp derived product that can slowly kind of introduce them to cannabis and as a medicine. So I think, on one hand, it's frustrating because it's like, why are we denying these people this medicine? And on the other hand, it's like, well, it's good that we're at least establishing these kind of systems now so that we can down the road further this kind of evolution to the medicine altogether.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years with cannabis?
That's crazy. So I had a dream last night that helped Mike sell his company for $1 billion, and my brother looked at me and was like, "What are you gonna do now that you're a 100 millionaire?" And I said, "I'm just gonna keep going, man." It was crazy. I woke up and texted Mike this morning about it. It's like, man, we gotta keep going. I think it's so important that the right people are at the top of this industry and making sure that it doesn't go too much towards the greed and the money grab, and that it remains about putting best medicine out there that we can for people. And when I think about who all those people are, I think Mike is at the top of that list, and I want to make sure that I can help him kind of any way I can kind of get there, because that's the most important part to me, is that the best medicine that we can get out there for the most amount of people to help the most amount of people is what happens. And if anything I can do to contribute to that in my life is amazing. In 5 years, if I'm doing enough of that and the outcome of that is that I have $100 million in the bank, then so be it. That'd be cool. Just a dream, but to me, what's more important than money or anything else is making sure that if we create a bigger company, that the people are treated great, that they want to come to work, that they want to talk to other people about working in the cannabis community, and that being a good experience, so that more people want to be open-hearted and open-minded to it in general, and that we kind of break down that stigma. I see myself a lot more involved in doing this full time, for sure.
Right on. I've always hoped myself, my mind, I would like to open a cannabis rehab at one point, related to kind of get them off, use cannabis to get them off whatever ails them, or even rehabilitation. I think cannabis could be used as far as not just getting somebody off, but just helping somebody get back into life. A lot of ways, teaching them to grow, teaching them to center out and shit. But
Yeah, I would love to see what we originally started off. When I told Mike my story again about kind of what happened in the beginning with Forefathers, he was like, "Well, why don't you try to just do it again? Don't give up on it." And I was like, man, I hadn't thought about even that ever since we had to pivot, start with the seeds and making sure that we could get the medicine out that way, and the glass and everything else, to kind of go back in reverse and revisit this. But I had heard good things about the movement with caregivers actually being able to put their flower out in the metric system recently. Fingers crossed that actually happens, and that we could really revisit that dream of doing it exactly how I wanted to from the beginning. But if not, man, just hopefully helping the organic movement take off. I think the more people that grow their own medicine, the better. And the more people that grow and consume organic cannabis, that's even more important. And if we have to kind of grab the reins of the bowl of kind of getting distribution and scaling out there at a large level to get that kind of amount of or medicine, organic medicine out there, I think then that's what we have to do, you know. Unfortunately, I think it's always going to be about a cheaper product for some people, and in order for it to become the cheaper product, it has to be, you know, the majority of what people are farming or what people want to consume. We have to create that demand.
Well, there's definitely some creation that needs to be done there. Unfortunately, I think a lot of today's cannabis has been weaned down in flavor. I've judged a few cups, quite a few cups in the last few years, and all I see is the same flavor profile. There will be maybe out of 30, sometimes even 50 samples, one that clearly stands out from the rest. You know what I mean? And that's kind of sad. And that's from me, that's what I'm seeing is hype times hype. I gotta fucking use whatever name on the pack to make intrigue the buyer to fucking want to buy my seeds. When in fact the strain should stand on its own there. The flavor, the whatever, it should that should be what sells, not the inputs, the ingredients. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have to put premium, or however you want to word it, hype. You know what I mean? This is what everybody wants, so this is what you got to have. It's got to be good, right? It's got fucking this in it. So I'm really hoping at some point cannabis can stand on its own. Cannabis cultivars can stand on its own, not necessarily, because that's the only way. That's the only way. When people quit worrying about or trying to breed with or trying to predict, you know what I mean, and breed with what everybody's, will be stuck in that gray cannabis. But it is until we get some, crazy outlaws that fucking go, I don't give a fuck. I'm just breeding for flavor. And here you go. And I understand that's a lengthy process, but I believe in quality, and I think that will win.
That's why I appreciate the people that do the hunts, man, so much. That's like the ultimate sacrifice to me, is to really like dig through all those different phenotypes and keep that process going to put all that work in, man. It's so much easier to just go buy clones, and just grow, which some people, that's what you have to do. But I love the people out there that are making that ultimate sacrifice so that people don't have to worry about whether or not their cannabis is going to be good, that they've already gone through all those different phenos and done that work for us. It's amazing to be a part of that recently. Has been awesome. But to find those ones like the real deal perps from back in the day, that true blue granddaddy, that true blue skunk, it's tough, man. I feel like people forget what that stuff really tasted and smelled and looked like. We've had some really good strains recently, but in the recent years come out, but I agree with you. It's like a lot of the stuff doesn't really just hit your palate to a point where 5 minutes after you're done smoking the joint, you're like, I still taste that. That's what I'm always looking for and hunting for.
That's the way cannabis should be. You should be able to have that flavor from one end to the other.
we call it the joint test, or the blunt test. Did it taste the same all the way through, start to finish? If it did, then it passed. It's tough when you're hunting. You're taste testing all these different strains. We went through 59 different phenotypes after the first batch, and it's like, this one we got to kill because it didn't check every single box. If it doesn't hit every single box, then it's just got to go. And some of them are
It's the one when I look at it. Say what you want about that, but if I hit it and go, and I just literally look at the joint and hit it again, and then look at the joint and go,
the look test. I might have to put that up there.
How many times have you ever seen yourself do that in a joint and just fucking just like, wow, that's special. I've done it many times. Unfortunately, driving down the road is one of those times. Just be cruising and just be like, yeah, wow, good. That's good.
I told Mike he's been my guinea pig lately. I've been bringing some flavors over. I'm gonna be hanging out with him, and I'll roll something up and I'll give it to him. And he's always busy on the phone doing his thing. And if he stops what he's doing though, and he asks me what's in the joint, I know it's something good.
There you go. That's So what has been some of your favorite or stop and look cannabis over your look? I'm not even asking you for now. Over your life, what has been some that's passed your hands that you've been like, that's
the track from back in the day is one that really stands out in my mind. As a gas, that, and of course the diesel, the real diesel from back in the day. As far as gas goes, candy, I gotta say, or fruit terps, I would say probably the strawberry cough back in the day, the blueberry from DJ Short. The perps over everything, though, I will say, man. If I could get a sack of that good purple from back in the day, I'd trade just about anything I've gotten in the last 10 years.
That says a lot.
I like the skunk from back in the day too. We were talking about that at Hetty in the Clouds quite a bit. The old school roadkill skunk, that stuff that you couldn't hide from anybody, that would stink out the entire room when you open up the bag.
Think we'll ever see it again?
A buddy of mine, he said that it was a Hell's Angels cut, I guess, and that when the ATF took down the Hell's Angels, that they burned the cut forever. They destroyed it, and that it was lost forever.
Could be. Do you think we'd ever stumble across the close?
I bet you there's an agent out there that knew what it was and took a plant home or something. There's a pack of seeds. When Mike and I were talking about it, and a couple other people at Hetty in the Clouds, I was like, now that I think about it, I was like, they might have the biggest seed vault in the world. If they didn't burn it all and they kept the seeds and they're still in a vault somewhere, the evidence firm or something like that, that'd be cool.
I think Breeder Steve's sitting on the biggest collection of seeds. He's last I knew, he was working on like 1 million seed pop or something like that. He sent him the packs, and he would grow them out. And the goal was to get them all, catalog them all, and then have them flower at one point. And then if you sent or contributed, you'd be invited to basically, that flowering and see everything on its glory there. And he's been working towards that for quite some time. And yeah, I've had him on the show twice now. Tell you what, I wouldn't want to be on that team. I would, but I wouldn't. You know what I mean? There's a lot of data being logged over there. A lot of, yeah.
You gotta be super passionate and super tough. I feel like to operate in the best environments that are doing that kind of work. And I'm appreciative every time I meet somebody that is that dialed into it. And I've met quite a few of these people recently, just hanging out with Mike and traveling a lot. We met the guy, quite a few people in California and stuff that were just amazing cultivators. And when I see them going with Fang back and forth, and I'm just kind of the fly on the wall, I feel like I'm just a sponge soaking this in, but I'm getting about 10% of everything that they're saying because they're going so fast and it's so deep and they're so passionate. It's just like, man, I feel like an amateur all of a sudden, when I'm around a lot of my friends that I'm around growing up and stuff. I'm like the OG in the group, but when I'm around some of these other people who are this dialed into this stuff, I just feel like the amateur in the room. It's crazy. But I'm so happy and grateful that these guys are making this ultimate sacrifice of putting it all on the line to find the one for us. I wonder what the next big one is going to be. The next big, I don't know if Runts was the last big terp change. What about your
If you
favorites?
could bring back the skunk, you'd be a rich man. You could bring back that true skunk. I think you'd nail it down 100%. What about myself as far as ones that I've really enjoyed over the years? Yeah, the skunk for sure. Uh, anything that I remember the old, just not having a name, but just a nice pine to it. I got early in my, probably around freshman, sophomore year. That shit was fucking amazing. Yeah, if I could have any of them, I wish I could have that one. Because that one, yeah, I don't think it was the time, but it was the weed. Because I smoked with a lot of people. I've smoked with a lot of people over the years anyway, but even at that point in my life, I was smoking with adults and people more, not just my age, but it was that. So, and it wasn't just me that when we spoke this shit that it would flat out hurt your face and gut. I mean, you could smoke a joint in a room full of fucking adults at that age, and everybody would fucking, their face would hurt and laugh. And yeah, if I could have that, yeah, I don't, yeah, I like to laugh. What better medicine, you know what I mean? So that's for me my most memorable. But OG Kush, a nice super gas OG crippler. You know what I mean? Double up and you're done. That leaves you with that almost like paralyzed. That's probably the one they fucking base the commercial, the melted girl commercial on. She's probably smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy some white rhino. Some nice white rhino was good.
Yeah, I forgot about the white rhino.
Yeah, that was good. Some lavender kush. That was special. I enjoyed some fucking red dragon. Some really nice red dragon has a beautiful flower and has very unique flavor profile. like stuff that just stands out, you know. And I think the chase towards the higher THC levels, I really believe that we're going the wrong way. We're going the wrong way. It gives you that high, but for me, anything over like truly, if I can say it, you know what I mean, truly, it's truly over like 35 or something like that. Good flower. It's not that kind of that's like anxiety zone right
Yeah,
there.
no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter whether it's a sativa or indica, it doesn't matter. It's just too strong. You're gonna have anxiety off of it, I feel like. And
Yeah.
I would rather have something with like a 7-8% terpene level that's 23% THC and taste and hits different, you know. That's what I'm looking for. Recently I've been comparing it to like the craft beer movement. I feel like when craft beer first came out, everybody wanted a 10-12% IPA just because it was the alcohol content. It was 3 beers in one, you know. So you could get that high alcohol beer and you get maybe one or two and be good for the night, you know. And all of a sudden that phased out, especially in Michigan. Oh, now people don't want that high alcohol content beer anymore. They want a session beer that they can have 2 or 3 of and actually drive responsibly um, after a few hours, or you know, that's something that they can actually sip on while they eat their meal and not, you know, have a hot bomb going on. And I feel like the cannabis is following suit. It's like we all of a sudden everyone doesn't really did. I feel like the true smokers don't really care about the percentages anymore. It's like we've been off that for a minute. We're terp chasing. We want the most delicious lip smacking stuff. um Man, it made me think of the exotics when you were talking about that, really looking for that different stuff. um Back in the day when I smoked chocolate Thai for the first time, that's one that really stands out to me, and to this day is still in my top 5 um, because of the unique factor. I remember like going over to my buddy's house, and you know, it was a friend of a friend. My friend told me to go get an eighth for $75, and I was like, man, nothing's worth $75 an eighth. I don't care who you are. And went over, and he's like, dude, you got to go do it. And I showed up, and he hands it to me, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me, man. This is some of the worst looking weed I've ever seen. And $75 for it. And he's like, it is what it is, dude. It's probably the only time you'll ever see it. It's chocolate Thai. And I was like, whatever. And I went home, and I rolled up a joint with my best friend, and we smoked it, and we were giggling, we were dying. It was this super unique high that I've been chasing ever since, and I've never found it. I found chocolate Thai a couple times, but it wasn't the same, you know. And I called the guy up, and I was like, hey man, can I get another eighth of that chocolate Thai? And he's like, nope, it's gone.
Well, the guys that always had that like super fire way back in the day that would only deal it out in the tens and eights, hoarded that shit. Hoarded that shit. They wouldn't ever let you get more than what you. Nope. Nope.
75 all the way up.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, even if they wouldn't even let you fucking purchase the big shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're afraid you'd turn around, flip it for more, or whatever. Whatever. I'd always argue with that guy. He'd never let me hit the stick.
Yeah. 100%.
Fucking, I love cannabis. Cannabis has been a staple my whole life. I mean, my whole life. I don't, I don't know where I'd be without it, to be honest with
Amen, dude. I hope to contribute in the future more to, you know, this evolution of bringing back that old school and continuing to find those flavors that make people have these kinds of memories, that really just the strains that stick out in your mind, you know.
Word. I almost wonder though, to some point, will it be as special to the generation coming up? Because like anything else, when we were growing up, it was legal. It was legal. Drinking was illegal. Fucking weed was illegal. And there was the thrill of the chase. You had to go through the fucking getting it, making it home safe. Like we were talking about earlier. I got it, motherfuckers. Come on over. You know what I mean? The celebration, the whole fucking. You think they'll have the same appreciation for cannabis that we did, in the long run?
And I hadn't really thought about it like that, but I don't think that it's possible because of the hardships we had to go through with it. And like you said, the celebration, the ceremony, the routines that we created for just to be able to consume, you know, that will just be such a thing of the past. I mean, in states like New York, you can smoke cannabis wherever you can smoke a cigarette, you know. So it's just normalizing it, which I get so excited about that I don't even think about the fact that in the future people might not even appreciate what we had to go through. That's crazy.
Even when I was talking about this today, the entry level of, dabbing, entry level of cannabis now for a lot of users isn't even flower anymore. It's fucking dabbing,
Yeah.
and so it will flower. With that even being said, will flower that whole process, you know what I mean? Period. Fucking period. Be ever expected like we had it, you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know.
When I was building out my glass shop and dabbing was like evolving from the titanium nail to what it is now, and slurpers and bangers and all this different stuff is what it is now. I was like, man, I have to get all these extra different things, and I'm like, I need to learn more about this uh kind of culture, because the culture of dabbing is exploding. And now it's like you look at every little piece of everything to really get like a nice set of everything. You can charge these $1,500 to be able to consume. And then if you're consuming, high grade rosin, it can be an expensive habit. But that's why I feel like you really just, it's so important for people to grow and cultivate their own medicine, because I think it's a nice option to have that ability to be able to consume that much flower at once. But I almost feel like it's a slippery slope for some people, because they're assuming that those two things are the exact same thing, and they're not. I think consuming that much cannabis at once for some people is probably not a good thing. you know Whereas flower, you can regulate your intake a lot safer, a lot more. It's the same thing with that percentage of breaking that 35% point with some of those really high percentage THC percentage strains that just kind of make you feel uncomfortable no matter what setting you're in. It's I've even known some people that have kind of experienced almost like a physical withdrawals from dabbing a lot and then going cold turkey, which I never thought was possible. But I love the culture and the subcultures and all the different things that are now a part of cannabis. To me, that evolution is going to be so cool to see. Like what are we dabbing with, and how are we consuming cannabis in 20 years? You know, like what kind of cool shit are they going to come out with next?
That will be interesting. I'm back to the dabbing and the entry level of dabs. I'll be interested in seeing how like long term dabbing plays out because I'm not like a huge dabber, but I fucking seen a lot of dabs. I was around dabs as that shit came up and fucking people were doing those. And people that were doing those big fucking terp slurper fucking that fucking just you know what I mean. Don't they don't look all that, you know what I mean? I think that they should have done just a hair bit of damage. And I hate to say that about cannabis, but I think in long term we may see that we need to change or go back to a lower temp flour, just smoke the flour or something like that. Nonetheless, or like you say, they may have it completely broke down by then in a whole new method. Yeah.
I smoked a dablet the other day. I don't know if you've heard of that.
What's a dablet? Do tell.
It is a little dab tab. So it's like a porcelain puck, tiny little puck the size of like a tic tac almost. And you drop that in your banger, and it slowly changes from like a gold color to black as the dab that has been absorbed up into the ceramic puck is vaporized into the bang.
Huh.
So every little puck is like one dab.
Pretty wild.
2 or 3 in there if you want a bigger dab or whatever, but I think it's like 10 of these little things is like a gram of rosin or resin.
Huh.
But my buddy who owns a dispensary brought him over the other day, and I was like, now this is crazy. This feels like the fucking future to me.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Like the Jetsons or something, they put the thing in the microwave and meal comes out.
Man, I don't want it to go any further. I'm still smoking my joints, man.
I'm right there with you, dude. Leave me and my doobies alone. I'm good.
I enjoy the dabs, but man, I always will have a love for flour.
How do you feel about the donut life?
The what?
The donut life.
The
Hash.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm as far as the donut goes, I'm cool with it. But I've always been making hash for a very long time. So the old, snake in the grass is a thing for me. Just having a nice little worm in the center of that joint, slow it down. It's a beautiful thing. So the donuts, they're cool, the rosin donuts, but yeah. Oh yeah. Whatever. It's a nice little bonus.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the perfect, way for me to consume like the rosin and stuff like that is, I used to just take it and rub it on a little bit of like a blunt. As a kid, I didn't really like dabbing, especially like right after my accident.
Well, let's take it back a little bit there. As far as that being said, I'd way rather see the donut than the fancy fucking out shit that I don't know how many times. And again, I don't want to be biased. I want to hear your thoughts on this, but the fucking just putting shit on the outside, I think is just it's cosmetic. It's just for looks. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily in the draw. It's burning off when you're not hitting the joint. Maybe some of that oil soaking through the paper, wink, wink, but you know what I mean? I think most of that's just for cosmetic bullshit. So yeah, I'd rather see the hash in the joint than trying to beauty it up on the outside. 100.
That and it just drips. You know, I, I was like, it dripped right on my cell phone one time, and I was like, what are we doing? Why don't you just put it inside? My buddy was doing it. He was all about the the wrap around. What was it called? Twaxing it.
Yeah. Actually, the closest I ever came to wanting to do anything like that but it worked very, very well was the hash skin blunt.
Ash skin.
Yeah. I think the first time I did it was 96, 90, or not 96, but 16, 17, around then, rolling out some 70 into a little paper and then rolling a blunt out of that wrap. We're using it for a wrap. And initially smoked the first one at the hash bash. So that was 17, 2017. Smoking it at the hash bash, the hash blunt, and that thing burned forever. And I ended up giving the roach to the cat passing out flyers who stopped and fucking smoked down forever. Got to the point where he's like, well, I gotta go back and get back these flyers out. Here you go, take this with you, man. This is a fun day, man.
We throw it every year at Hash Bash. We have just these epic sessions, and we have for as long as I can remember too. And one year brought the volcano, and we threw a 2-gram keef puck in the volcano.
Nice.
Pass that thing around.
Them things will fuck you up.
Yeah, man. The volcano just hits different, I feel like. We've had some unbelievably epic sessions for Hash Bash and continue to every year. I feel like they just get bigger and better. COVID kind of sucked because, obviously took some people out of the game, but
A lot of people. So
a lot
is
of people.
some of your personal pieces there behind you?
Just a few from my store actually. This one here is pretty wild, dude.
I like the fish.
Some Reticello work. Got your slide right there.
A lot of fucking fishermen that watch the show that fuck that's a badass dude.
Dude, the dragonfly is the mouthpiece, and the wings are all dichrome. So during the day, this is just like all beautiful. A bit like that.
Right on.
Hell yeah. It's one of my favorite pieces in the collection. I don't jack anything up as far as like how a lot of smoke shops kind of have to pay to have the 4 walls and the roof. I don't charge more than anything than the artists are comfortable with, which I want to be the bare minimum as possible without deflating or devaluing their work, of course. And then we recycle all the profits right back into the individual artists. So when their work sells, their collection grows. This is Eric Anders, his original design for the recycle. He's also kind of like in my opinion, one of the best wigwag artists out there. His work is just flawless. His wigwag kind of tails are just so sharp. Work. It's incredible. Carpenter glass. His functionality is just crazy, next level.
Nice. Kind of gave like a wood grain experience almost.
Yeah. This is called the heliosphere. This is a couple that collaborated together. Marnie Glass. And oh man, I'm just telling I'm drawing the biggest blank right now. Cajun Glass, Jesus. I'm sorry. Like the opal, the turret, fluid allure.
Badass.
Sick piece right here. This is a Jetter, OG in the game, and Eric Anders. Little Q-tips on the side.
Looks all kind of like Superman-y, Krypton. You know how he drops the crystals in there and shit.
Super old school kind of style. Nice low center of gravity. That base is heavy as fuck.
I have a love for glass. I just can't keep glass.
Right?
That's badass.
Yeah, this is a couple, Eric Anders and his girl, Lyric Glass. No one had ever asked them to collaborate together, but I asked them to make some pieces and they got really into it. Did some unbelievable work. They made 3 pieces together. They're just astonishing. Some of my favorite pieces. I take them to all the shows actually because I love telling the story. A little romance. It was right around Valentine's Day, and I was thinking about having a collaborative piece of a guy and a girl. And I knew they were together, and they were both glass blowers. I was like, "Did you guys ever work together on anything?" They're like, "No one's ever asked." I was like, "I'm just going to give you a budget and do whatever you guys want."
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love kind of working with the different artists and introducing like ideas, but giving them ultimate creativity and letting them kind of do their thing, because ultimately they're the ones that are good at what they do, and I don't want to get in the way of that. In the beginning, I was, started with a nice custom piece and kind of worked my way out from there with wholesale orders and everything else. But I've always had a nice collection of glass growing up as a smoker. It was always like, nice Roar bong, and Jerome Baker. Blue Dot was the first glass piece I ever had. And then some local artists. I was always just looking for something with a little flair, but nothing too crazy. I was like the flames, the red and stuff like that.
Shit, I can't remember who fucking brought it up and shit earlier, but it was made me smile. When I remember when I was smoking or thinking about pipes, you had anything graphics, you were on top of the game right there. You got graphics spawn, man. Yeah. So I probably like seriously dates me in my smoking, but yeah, so same question that comes from chat, same dude. Is graphics even still a thing? Does graphics even make bongs anymore?
Good question. I met the guy that owns Zong Bongs in Chicago. T-Dog took me out to Chicago with him to, well, actually, the guy from Zong Bongs invited T-Dog and I out there. And it was really cool to meet him because that's one bong I feel like a lot of people from my era can associate with. A lot like a Jerome Baker. Most people I feel like have smoked out of one or the other. But it's kind of an iconic design, just that bend back and forth. It's a smart move.
Yeah.
You can be low profile but still have all that all that smoke, because it was all about like taking the biggest rip I feel like that you could with the bong. That's how it was for us back in the day. This is the piece that started it all. It's first custom that I did, covered in dichro, smashed opal, actual opal, an implosion, some reticello and filicello work, tons of sections, nice beautiful Sherlock.
Right on.
Matches the other piece I was smoking out of, and then I have a matching his and her pendant for my wife and I. Matches the whole set. I would love just to, see this collection grow and grow as time goes on, or have like a 4-wall and a roof kind of place somewhere near a beach one day that I can just hop in and out of, have some coffee and smoke.
Yeah. I have my favorite piece. I have a few glass pieces that I cherish. I don't smoke out of them very rare, but I have a few. I have a few skulls that I really like that are super cool. But I have this piece right here that was given to me by it's kind of there's reasons, there's levels to this favorite piece. All right. For one, old school eater, right? So, and my buddy Sub used to smoke out of a sidecar piece, right? And so years go on, Sub passes, and I meet Smoke and Grow Frazier in Chat currently. And we make I bring him some pups and he hands me a box with some super cool shit in it. Amongst the cool shit, probably one of the things I super cherish. I don't even smoke out of this bitch rarely, but I do cherish it. So this is I don't even know if you can see that. So let me see if you can get a good shot of this.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So that's that camera. So sidecar, have a nice little finger hole. Sits nice and flat. Yeah, that's my favorite piece. So Sub had a piece very, if not almost identical, without the same design damn near in the front.
That's sick.
I cherish this piece. Don't smoke out of it, but that's my favorite piece right there. Cheers and thank you. Smoke for everything. I love that piece.
Like, I feel like it's there. That's like one of my favorite things when it comes to the glass art. It's like when I hit that roadblock with the actual cultivation, I was like, well, the glass is legal, the seeds are now legal. We can do those two things, and those are still ways that we can spread the love in the community and like the good medicine in the community. So let's roll with that. And it's like I remember getting my first glass piece, like walking out of that smoke shop and just feeling like $1,000,000, just so excited. We were talking about whether or not the future is going to have that kind of moment. I think as long as the art continues to be a part of this community, people will have that moment in that way. They'll have that first piece, and there's nothing like it, man. When you pack up the first bowl and the first piece you get, you break that thing in, it's such a good feeling, man. And I don't know, for me personally, like, I don't get in the car and do it. I like kind of wait. I'll go home and I'll look at that thing. I'll put it on the coffee table and have like a staring contest. Sometimes I'll fill it with weed and just wait. And then like something will happen. It'll be like a moment. Good friend will come over or something, and it'll feel right. Celebratory moment. And I'll do it, Piece I just smoked out of the church warden. That I just christened about a week ago, and I've had that for about 2.5 years, I think.
I just now kind of thinking about it or putting a couple things together, your love for the glass, and then, your time with everybody has a love for the Half Baked movie. And I think every star, so many great pieces to that movie. But for me, looking back to listening to your story here, that kind of, to me, I think it's the glass, the pipes, the legalness that we're talking about, scoring the sack, choosing the pipes. You know what I mean? So do you think that maybe planted the seed for later on? Did you have pipes like that back then, or did you? You know what I mean? Or do you think that plays into the love of glass and that memories, or you know what I mean? Does that all kind of play together or what?
Man, I've had so many pieces over the years. It's crazy. And they've all been either broken or stolen, or something like tragic has happened to every one of them. I think the oldest piece of glass that I have right now, I've had for probably like 10 years at this point. And it was a piece that I inherited from another guy. It's a ZOG bong. That thing is a classic.
I have some memories with, it wasn't glass, it was ceramic. I had fucking people wanted this year, so I can't believe I'm talking. Fucking it was a wizard that I kind of inherited from like piece of shit fucking stepdad, but he hands me at some point this. So it was a ceramic wizard. I forget. I got I'm on camera the fucking thing. So a ceramic wizard, fucking Mike, about that big, right? About yay big, and he was like super cool, long beard, fucking hands like holding a bowl, and outside, like between the beard and the bowl, the stem came out, and I don't know, he had like these awesome red eyes. Like, there was a lot of cool things about the wizard, but I was such a stoner during school. I fucking always carried the wizard around for like it was probably about a year and a half easy that I I can just loyally carried this duffel bag with this fucking wizard. And fucking I'd go to like fucking the weekend parties and shit. I'd show up. I literally have seen that pipe fucking go, wizard, wizard. That boy, man, it was almost a little legend of his own there. But Yeah, that was that. If I had, yeah, I had some people. So yeah, it's cool that you do pieces because people do carry a lot of memory sometimes to certain pieces like that, glass, whatnot. It is somewhat can be somewhat of a tradition.
Uh, for sure, man. I had this one back in the day that we called the Slaxophone because my last name is Slack, and it had 7 different percolators on it, and it was like little bubbles like this that had a little percolator going down, and then they were all connected next to each other, and there was, I think, 6 main little bubbles, and then they all connected to one big fat base that was the master kind of percolator that the bowl was connected to. And we would just pack that thing up, and you stuck a little cork in each individual percolator so you could just rip it straight out of the top. But sometimes you would take all the little corks out, and you could like literally play it like a saxophone if you wanted to, and clear the different chambers out individually. And man, dude, that thing was a legendary piece. It went to every single party. It got so dirty and was so hard to clean, but it was so worth it. you know, Nowadays they have these different products that you can actually clean these super elaborate pieces with. It's kind of nice.
I hope so, because that's one of the other reasons I don't keep glass, because the motherfucker clean, I won't clean them. And then time to get new pieces when that bitch is like dirty as fuck. I'm like, yeah, that's nasty. Time for a new one. Someday I'll clean them dirty bitches, but for now I'm moving on.
So I started a while ago. I started forcing myself to have a glass cleaning day, like once every 6 months or whatever. You just go and you clean every single piece, because sometimes I will rip them once and I'll put them back. But what I try to do is just right after I hit it, kind of like doing a dab. You just do a little alcohol rinse, shake it through, and run a little hot water through it and shake it up. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do, but to be able to blow flour out of fresh glass is so good, dude. There's nothing like it, I feel like, especially if you're using a hemp wick. It's hits different.
Yeah, there's such a that's the thing. I'd never even realized. Again, you live and learn, right? Proper bowl get etiquette. Never knew it was such a serious thing until I met serious heady glass people. You know what I mean? It just, yeah, you're not personalizing that bowl and just like taking a serious light to it. You better start one edge, work it over, wipe it clean, and give it to the next guy. Even if you're not going to take proper bowl etiquette, it better be quick little rips so everybody gets a fresh piece and wipe it out in between rips.
Four corners, right? 4 corners to that bowl. There has to be, even in a windstorm.
Yeah. It's one of those things, I guess, too, that once you kind of learn it, you don't unsee it or unlearn it. Because after that, I've always smoked had weed, hash, whatever, with my dad. Right? And but he had yeah, especially after like the realization of it, right? Had the worst bowl etiquette ever after like it. That cat, I miss Lord, I miss him too. Fucking would literally he didn't even like shit like this. He would prefer like lighters like this where he could just straight down torch the shit out of it and then fucking straight up the beautiful ball of hash in there. He was like blast that bitch that lighter and then like sit back and you can sit back like that 3 or 4 puffs of flame. Oh, like oh Man, man, geez. They didn't get two shits. Yeah. Worst bowl ever, but etiquette.
Oh, legendary. That is legendary. The evolution of hash has been so cool to be a part of in our lifetime.
Oh,
Wa-
for sure.
Watching the patella kind of most recently evolve, um, which I'm sure is probably a much older um, hash making style that I'm aware of, but I feel like with technology is allowing us to perfect these things in a way that wasn't previously available in history, and that's kind of a cool thing to see. I try to get to the 420 Expo out at I think it's Soaring Eagle Casino um, every year, just so I can network a little bit and kind of see the evolutions of the cannabis industry and what's kind of coming out next. And it's crazy to see some of the stuff these people come out with. I mean, I met this guy that 2 years ago, I think it was, that built a machine in his garage that could fill like 10,000 cartridges an hour. I was like, holy shit, that's really impressive. It literally just heats up a certain amount out of this big thing, just a little bit at this perfect temperature where it just drops this perfect amount at one at a time. And it's just like, holy crap, this guy, that's impressive. It's crazy to see some really talented people that probably got looked over before, that probably kind of couldn't make it in a different way, kind of find their way in cannabis and really help evolve things for the betterment of the industry. I think it's a beautiful thing when that kind of happens. It's kind of an art form in itself.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So there's a lot of people, like you're saying, that have kind of helped put us where we are in cannabis today. And we're leaders in the forefront, like extracts and stuff like that. A good friend of mine, John Indra, who I've had on the show quite a few times, actually holds the patents for the BHO processes for cannabis, and quite some time, way ahead of the curve, pre-legal market and shit like that. And subsequently passing, I haven't heard from John now in about a year, and last time he wasn't in good shape. But again, you know what I mean, because of the legality of cannabis, he that cat, for everything he's done in his life. And if you go back and watch his episodes, amazing man. I mean, amazing man. But uh financially set these days, not so much. You know what I mean? Struggling. You know what I mean? Could have used the help, or you know what I mean. But pre-game, you know what I mean? Help get us to where we are now. There's lots of artists and fucking whatnot, making money off of the processes that he set forth, but because of the legality of cannabis, kind of sucks to see that type of shit. Yeah.
It's crazy to see and hear a lot of the people like that have been taken advantage of and have helped evolve this so much, and should be taken care of, better taken care of at least. It's kind of sad to me, but that unfortunately I feel like it's just a byproduct of you know capitalism in general, and it can be a beautiful thing too on the other end, because there's always like the evolution that's occurring because of that. So many people are able to consume a better form of medicine, you know, the without his sacrifice, so many people wouldn't have figured that out, or maybe they wouldn't have figured it out for God knows how much longer, you know. So I appreciate people like him so much for making that sacrifice and for their struggle, because without them it wouldn't have been like it is, you know. And it's sad because those stories are a dime a dozen, I feel like, in this industry, because of the corporations that have come in and just kind of taken over a good majority of the industry. A lot of the people have just outright given up, like you were talking about earlier, with some of these really talented growers that aren't just flat out aren't growing anymore because they can't compete with $100 ounce that people are going to the dispensary for. It sucks because those people should be growing, you know. They should be the ones that are growing. That should be the medicine that people are consuming. And if it needs to be $100, then we should figure out a way to make that happen, you know, bridge that gap.
I agree. And you know what's sad is, like, a lot of people that I've seen, is not one of them, I don't think, that has had the dream of going out and being, you know, that millionaire or whatever. It's always been the ones that just want to do it, like I said, to get on their own scale of living life with their own, you know, a better quality of life, selling that fucking flower that they put all that love into a craft market or a farmer's market. You know what I mean? Just not enough just to get by. And I think almost every one of them would be happy with just getting by. You know what I mean? Owning the nice fucking plot of land, learning to sustain for themselves, growing enough cannabis just to sell at market, just to fucking pay the bills and get by. And I think that is, for most points, well, for me anyway, the cannabis dream. I just want to be able to wake up, do the right thing, and fucking grow a bunch of weed that I love and be able to, and I think that's it. And we want to play. We fucking want to play. We'd pay the taxes, yada yada. But fucking big corporation, big money won't let us fucking achieve just getting by or living the dream or whatever. And that, that doesn't cap out there. You know what I mean? If you wanted to take it to the next level and you're the demand of the fucking farmers market, you should be able to fucking multi farmers market, whatever, branch out. You know what I mean? But you should be able to fucking just produce some shit to get by, to live, just like anybody else. You should have the right to farm, to produce, just like anything.
100%, dude. I feel like the more that we rely on the smaller kind of communities, rely on each other, the people within their community, the better. That model encourages what we're talking about, those growers being able to kind of come back into the scene. I don't know that it will go there, but I hope that more people at least grow their own medicine, if nothing else. But we got to make sure that, they can grow the right medicine.
Oh yeah.
Sure that we can figure out a way to make that happen so it can be more affordable for people. I think that might be the ultimate way to bridge the gap between the two things, but who's to say? But it would be kind of cool, man, if somebody could figure out how to George Jetson that shit or whatever. Throw the pebble in the microwave and out comes 3 ounces of flour somehow.
You know, my local, before I could, it was up there for a week, and I drove by it for a fucking week, all fucking disgusted, all disgusted. And at one point, I finally said, "Fuck this! I want to take a picture of that shit." They had already taken it down. That was a sign in front of the local provisioning center said, "Why plant seeds? We have flour." I thought, oh, you fuckers, man. Why would you not want? Yeah, I could see why that's your business model. And then it says support local business underneath it. I'm like, you won't even support your people. You want them to support your local business. I mean, you should support them and teach them to grow, man. Yeah, you should be able to grow your own medicine. That's most, like we were talking about. That's one of the most empowering parts of cannabis is the cultivation. But yeah, I just thought that was like huge. Ugh. It literally that every time I drove by, I read that bitch. I did that. Just like,
I think like, you know, having the dispensary is a good thing. It's convenient for a lot of people. It's a variety for people, but I don't think that they shouldn't grow their own medicine too. You know, if you can only handle cultivating one plant, you should still cultivate one plant. If you've never grown medicine before, I think you should start now. Like if you have the ability to grow outdoors, then grow outdoors. If you have the ability to grow in a closet indoors, you can grow in a closet indoors. There's amazing people doing amazing work as far as putting that kind of information on how to grow great medicine out there. There's a guy who I really enjoy, Mr. Canucks Grow. He grows closet grows and wins cannabis cups with his flower. It's kind of cool. Just to prove the point, you know, that you can grow your own great medicine. It's not that impossible secret thing to try to ascertain that you have to do for 100 years to get good at. You know, you can grow decent medicine, especially like if somebody is sick and needs RSO. You don't need the super high quality flower. You can go throw seeds in the fucking forest and have it seed out and everything and still make good RSO with it. It's just medicine. And the more that we use it as such, I think, and get away from pharmaceuticals, the better.
I agree. I agree. I most definitely have lost a lot of people to pharmaceutical medicine.
Yeah, I feel like the RSO, man, is such a beautiful thing and it's so underrated and so like untapped as far as its true ability to help people.
I'm fucking forever surprised how the fucking uses for RSO. That's no motive. Bee stings, no more RSO. Toothache, RSO.
Like
Wound,
crazy.
RSO. Tattoo, RSO.
I don't know how true it is, but a guy at Gems and Genetics said that he was coming back from stage 4 after being given 6 months to live after doing like incredibly high dosages of RSO, both rectally and orally. Um, and that shit blew my mind. I had heard stories of it, but I've never actually met someone to claim that in person. So that was cool to me. I hope that someone wouldn't claim that to try to get fame or something.
Yeah.
But I have met other people that have had skin cancer that have had skin grafts and had the cancer come back, and then that have treated it with RSO and said that it stopped. I've read articles about that as well, which is, it's not really that surprising to me. I just think there's too much money to be made by people being sick for people to be so open-minded to such a easy solution to not be sick. It's hard to get people to look at it like that, and it's sad that that's the situation, because I really think that it can be a cure for a lot of situations, or at least a better form of treatment than surgery. If you could put something topical on your skin or cut it out, which would you choose? I'm gonna go topical every time, personally. If it works, it works.
Yeah, I think that's one of the bummers, is people are scared to try cannabis, anything, versus the medical stuff. So
You're gonna say, like, oh, I feel perfectly fine having a surgery, but I don't even want to try rubbing this thing on my arm. It's like, what? Why? Why isn't that the first option?
for me, it's the biggest fight that I see were for people that tried a topical and think it is going to be that one shot miracle. And you know what I mean? I don't know how many times I've handed out what I knew to be amazing topicals, right? Tried, true, hand them out to somebody. Yeah, I tried it. Didn't work. Did you rub it in? You know what I mean? Did you give it a fair shot? Did you try it more than once?
Right.
Did you let it set in? Did you multiple applications to let it, actually get in there, start working, or did you just dab it on? Oh, yeah, didn't work for me. And 9 times out of 10, it didn't work for me. It's like, really? Really? You would have would you, kind of like what you're saying with the medical shit. You would have gave up on your prescription that quick, huh? Yeah, you took one pill in and you're not a miracle. You're gonna give up on it. But no, they'll trust the doctor's opinion. Oh, no, let's go for this. We'll finish this bottle, no matter what the side effects.
Like they put the side effects on a piece of paper, on several pieces of paper that they give to you in the bag with the prescription, and we take it. We don't even read the side effects. I'm guilty, but the medicine is right there that could help, and we just don't even look at it. Most people don't look at it as an option, and that's so sad to me. That's why I like going full circle with what I was saying about the hemp and the champs experience for me earlier was kind of cool. I took a few samples home, and my wife is actually somebody that doesn't enjoy cannabis. She tried a hemp product for the first time and was having like really bad cramps and pain, and immediately got relief. And I was like, see, cannabis can help you. Even if it's just a hemp derived product or a CBD for people who normally are afraid to try cannabis, I think it's a good bridge to them getting into that world. And I look forward to the next few years of the true deep dive into the breakdown of all the different cannabinoids in the plant. I mean, it's crazy to think that we really have only scratched the surface of, a dozen of them, I feel like, maybe at this point.
You know, It is interesting that some of the ways some of the pioneers, Brown Guy 420, case in point there, breaking it down already into like say molecule forms, different molecules, and it's kind of already trying to work with people from what his experiences are with the different molecules and building you like capsules already geared. You know what I mean? A little bit of CBG, a little bit of this, a little bit of that for, your consultation of ailments. And I'm excited to see, that kind of plant medicine come out of it. Do I think it will ever take place of, just straight up plant consumption? I hope not, because at that point, that's when, Big Pharma will have made that switch. And maybe that's the delay. I really think that this whole attempt to legalize recreational cannabis and push it so quickly from coast to coast, state to state, is an effort indeed to bury the fact that cannabis is true medical value. And because it was catching on too quick, and it was already known, it's been known for thousands of years. All we were doing was reminding people or opening people's eyes back up, which had been, duped over the years. But the fact that cannabis was a true medicine has been known for thousands and thousands of years. But I think the push for recreation is, people were waking up to that. Doctors were losing money, pharma was losing fucking money. You can't have people healing themselves. Can't have that's the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's hard for them. It's a money system. Sadly, I hate that about life is that everything's based on that dollar. I get it, but it's sad. It's blown out of proportion, I guess. But and they've seen that. So in order to keep cannabis as a medicine, Big Pharma got scared as fuck. They had this, as Chad's called, the Cheers Star Delta 9. They had to keep dealing us that poison. So they went, you know what? Sometimes you just gotta fucking play whatever. Here, party it out. Here's your recreational cannabis. How many times as cannabis legalization has been pushed, it's always been medical, 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 medical. You go to these events, there's been people kind of like you talk about off to the side telling, hey, cannabis saved my life. Sign this petition, let's get it legalized. Blah, blah, blah. We knew it fucking worked. How many times you go to an event now and see that? You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. If you do see that gentleman or female standing there telling their story and the power of the medical side of cannabis, it is overshadowed by fucking the push of sales, 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 music, da da da. Why the poor guy sitting there trying to scream over the fucking crowd to go, hey, this shit saved my life. Those stories are being drowned out by recreational cannabis, the circus aspect of some of these events. And that breaks my heart because cannabis can and does save lives. And, you know, cheers to the whole idea, again, the idea of the forefathers of helping people that can't help themselves because cannabis is a very empowering thing. But I think that the whole recreational thing is big money. It's cigarettes, tobacco, all of them that's losing money right now, pushing the recreational side of things so they can get their ducks in a row while legalization takes place. And then they can simply diverse, you know, what they did and the poisons they pushed and put that money back into cannabis because that's where they know the money's at. That point, Big Pharma have had one. They'll have their money now in legal cannabis, and they'll still be pushing their poisons. And now they'll also be serving us as we're talking about. They're not stupid. they'll see, as we're kind of mentioned, they'll know how to break it down by molecule and individualize it, like we're talking about. So it'll be a win-win for them, but they'll have discouraged it along the way. So I think it's super important along the way that we keep the medicine of personal cultivation and the medical side of cannabis alive. You know, it was the caregivers. It was sadly to say that the cannabis was built on the sick. The people that were stories that were being told, people that were standing up in the fucking capitals of the states and saying, "Hey, it might save my children's lives." It wasn't, yeah, the people that wanted to party and stuff like that. So it's super important that the stories of how cannabis saved lives is super important, at least to me. You know, that's
For sure, man. I mean, I've heard so many stories about kids that are having, 20 seizures a day. And then all of a sudden they're introduced to a cannabis product and they're going down to 4 to 6 seizures a day. And it's like, just to think about the change in that family's life, to be able to go from 1/3, or excuse me, 3/3 to 1/3 of what they're experiencing on that negative kind of experience is unbelievable. To think about somebody who has stage 4 cancer and is given 6 months to live to go into remission, or someone with skin cancer to have several failed, skin graft surgeries and chemotherapy fail, and the cancer just to come back, and then all of a sudden it just to go away with Simpson oil treatments. This is this kind of shit that makes me know in my soul that what I'm doing is right, and that cannabis is right. My friend recently was giving a speech about dissociative hallucinogens, organic hallucinogens, and their effect on mental health, positive effect on mental health over pharmaceuticals. And this is kind of an exciting topic too, especially to be alive right now and to see the evolution of this occur is exciting. He said one of the top antidepressant medications on the market, it came out that the number one side effect experienced by over half of the people was an increase in depression. And he said, how many people the next day stopped taking the medication after that broke national news? Not one. No one stopped taking the medication, even though they knew that it was making them worse. That's how brainwashed people really are to this routine and this way of thinking. It's so sad when you could try something organic and natural, like they are, in a lot of cases all around the world, already. But here in America, we're stuck thinking that that's just the way that we should do it. You got commercials all day, every day on TV for pharmaceuticals. In other countries, that shit's illegal. It's crazy.
That's another thing that's kind of ironic too, that here we are, we're supposed to be one of the leaders in the world, and yet we're the ones dragging our feet about like taking cannabis to the next level. How many countries around us have already went by and surpassed us in so many ways legally, open so many more doors? And yet here we're still struggling town by town, state by state, pushing it forward, and we still can't even agree on the medical side of it. It's kind of super sad that politics standing in the way of the powerful plan. It's mind blowing that it's the only fucking plan that is fucking legally kind of broken down by molecule. It's not even the one. They can't even go, no, it's the plant. You can't use it for this reason. They're like, no, it's this molecule. And wait a minute, that molecule. And no, 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 that one too. No, you know what I mean? There's no other plant that they fucking went and fuck the plant up like that and dissected it. It's just like, oh, it's so dangerous. So dangerous. So many levels. So bad.
Yeah, we should totally just microwave it to death and then add this one molecule that comes from it back into it and then smoke that instead of just smoking it. That's safer. I heard that one recently. Remediating flour and then adding the legal cannabinoids to it in the form of keef and extract.
So
you can get like certain cannabinoids legally in other states and federally legal. So that's like the workaround. And they're creating infrastructure in those states now so that when the cannabis does legalize, they'll already have kind of systems set up to distribute the medicine. Like, it's kind of smart, from a corporate perspective, it's good business. But it makes me sad that this is the extremes that we're having to go to still. It's just like, man, makes me want to just Johnny Appleseed the whole country with cannabis seeds.
That'd be cool. Surprised we're not collectively doing it yet anyway. So where's been one of the most interesting places that even, if it happens to be, we have to break it down to a city, but I don't think we have to go that deep. What's been some of the nicest places cannabis based, you know what I mean, cannabis related that you've been to?
I mean, it's definitely been my experience recently. Mike and I went and toured a 100-acre farm in Mendocino, and it was just beautiful, man. It was like right up the road from where Grateful Dead recorded Fire on the Mountain, and you like looked out and you saw in one direction, just the mountains, and another direction you just looking out into wine country, and it's just, you feel like you're in heaven. Like, I felt like I was just in a holy place, 100% organic farm, and just beautiful experience, man. It's crazy. But some of the other gardens I've seen recently and facilities I've been lucky enough to be able to go and tour have just been mind-boggling, man. It's so cool to see stuff like that in person and to be able to see it legally is something I never thought I would see in my lifetime. I never thought I would get to walk onto a farm like that. It'd be legal, not in my life.
Yeah, I'm glad to say that I might be able to see it. My proud to say it.
Oh yeah, man. I think I gotta call it, brother.
Right on. Well, with that being said, before we go, man, I got a couple of things that I'd like to go over with you. First and foremost, the link that I sent you this evening is always good for the Weed Nerd Worlds. Basically, find the Weed Nerd Worlds for show. Count on it, like for show. Mondays, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thursdays, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You're more than welcome to come hang out. Tell us what you're up to. Just smoke, hang out, talk about whatever we're talking about. In the Weed Nerd World, oh, Lord, you'll find everything in the weed nerd world. We might be talking in straight up cannabis, all aspect, looking at gardens, plants. We may talk about whatever. We may be talking about psychedelics. We may be talking about psychedelics, not psychedelics. We may be talking about conspiracy theories. You never know what you'll walk into in a weed nerd world because it's just regular people like us talking regular shit. So anytime you'd like to come hang out, the same link, no longer an invitation, more of a want-to thing. So if you want to come hang out, you're always more than welcome. Please keep that in mind. We love hearing from new people. It keeps the weed nerd world fun to watch and ever rolling. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
keep it in mind. The last thing I'd like to get from you, my friend, before you go, is a silly little thing I call the soundbite. Soundbite, my version thereof would be, hey, this is Eagle, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 818. You can say whatever you want before or after. Then at some point, this will be used as a commercial for your episode. Because at some point, I'm thinking about start running. I was running. I do have a backup channel, and as we speak right now, I think I looked on YouTube between these episodes, 818 fucking one-on-ones, and then the buried in betweens. The Weedner worlds are like, if you look down the channel, Weedner worlds are point. Da, 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 da. So if I don't have a guest, it may be point one, point two, point three. They've always been like the backup part of the channel. Okay. So if you ever see a point, that's what they are. But yeah. So I'm backup channel. I'm thinking about running backup episodes again. So these will be commercials for backup episodes, backup, you know what I mean? Reruns. For the reruns, my friend, and reminders. Because it's hard as we all get the FOMO and we just want to watch live, 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 live. Sometimes you got to repost shit and go, hey, you remember when this person was on? And that's what soundbite is for. So that is what I'm looking for, my friend, the very long version thereof. I am ready for that. Here, right? There we go.
Thanks for having me on the show. Look for the 4 again in the future.
What episode is this? Where you at?
818. My bad.
Right at. You want to second take?
Pardon?
Take two?
Hell yeah.
All right. I'm ready when you are.
All right. So leave me in one more time. I'm sorry.
All right. This is what I need. My version, not yours. Hey, this is Eagle, and I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 818. Say whatever you want, before or after. Bare bones. That's what I want. I'm ready whenever you are.
All right. This is Steve from 4 Fathers, episode 818. Fucking talking with the Eagle. Had a great time tonight, and look forward to being back on the show soon. 4 Fathers out.
Perfect. Thank you, my friend. Time is the most valuable thing we have, and I've taken a nice little slice of yours, so I appreciate you, my friend. Always welcome. For the rest of you guys, thank you for your time as well. Don't forget to do something nice for somebody. Random acts, kindness do save lives. And with that being said, we are out of here. Thank you again, my friend.
Oh yeah.